The term invasion is best suited in describing the 1788 arrival of the British within Australia. This is because the term invasion demonstrates force, which was overtly used by the British as they did not attempt to make a treaty, used violence during early encounters, and imposed racist government policies on Australia's original inhabitants, the Aboriginal and Indigenous peoples. This is evident as the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples were deemed by the British to be savages and therefore not to be afforded with a treaty. No treaty was required as, firstly, Australia and its inhabitants were deemed to be terra nullius or uninhabited. This means that Captain James Cook was not bound by the British Crown to acquire consent from Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples to take possession of Australia's land. Secondly, even after Cook and his advisors became aware of the sheer number of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples inhabiting Australia, terra nullius was sustained as there were no marked signs of occupation over the land through architecture or agricultural cultivation. Lastly, even when evidence of architecture and agricultural cultivation was discovered, Cook and the British Crown chose to ignore this, as they were underway in successfully staking claim over a portion of Australian land. Likened to this, it is evident that Australia was invaded, as early encounters with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples were met with violence. Firstly, within Cook's diaries, the initial encounter with Aboriginal peoples describes physical violence and conflict. Secondly, by 1794, food became scarce due to the spread of settlement. This resulted in an order by the British Crown that allowed settlers to shoot Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples at will. Lastly, by 1794, the British decimated the Gadigal and Wangal clans through the introduction of smallpox into Australia, giving the British full occupation over those portions of Australia. Similar to this, it is evident that Australia was invaded as the later establishment of government policies from 1880 maintained rigid control over Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. Firstly, the 1905 Act in Western Australia allowed Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children to be forcibly taken from their families and raised in missionaries. Secondly, the 1937 assimilation policy forced Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples to disregard their rich languages and cultures and adopt a white culture out of fear of prosecution. Lastly, the 1960 integration policy allowed Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples to be excluded and segregated from public facilities such as counselling, swimming pools and other services, shopping centres and hotels. In conclusion, Australia was invaded by the British on the 26th of January, 1788.